Right now, as you listen to these words, your conscious mind is processing about 50 bits of information per second. But your subconscious mind, euros, the part of you that exists below the surface of awareness, euros, is processing 11 million bits per second. Every single second, there is an entire universe of mental activity happening inside you that you have never directly experienced. We spend our lives believing the conscious mind is the captain of the ship. We think we make decisions rationally, evaluate situations objectively, and choose our path with clear intention. But neuroscience has spent the last 3 decades systematically dismantling that illusion. The captain's wheel, it turns out, is connected to an engine room you cannot see euros. And the engine room decides where the ship goes, long before the Captain Eve. What we now know about the subconscious mind is both humbling and empowering. It shapes who you love, what you fear, which ideas you find compelling, and whether you succeed or fail at your most important goals. And the most remarkable part, euro, you can learn to work with it deliberately, rather than being driven by it unknowingly. Let us start with a simple question. When you see a word on a screen, how long does it take for your brain to recognize it? The answer will reveal the first hidden power of your subconscious. In a classic experiment, psychologist John Bargh asked participants to unscramble sentences containing words associated with old age euro, words like wrinkle. The participants had no idea these words were connected to any theme. They just completed a language task. But when they left the experiment, something extraordinary happened. The participants who unscrambled the elderly-themed words walked down the corridor significantly more slowly than the control group. Their subconscious minds had been primed with the concept of old age, and their physical behavior changed euro without any conscious awareness. They did not feel old. They did not notice walking slowly. Their subconscious simply adjusted the motor program. This is the power of priming. Every word you read, every image you see, every conversation, you have plant seeds in your subconscious. Those seeds grow into thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that your conscious mind then rationalizes as its own. You believe you chose to walk at that speed euros, but your subconscious had already decided. Now, let us talk about something more uncomfortable. Implicit bias euros. The automatic associations your subconscious makes about race, gender, age, and 100 other categories. You may consciously believe in equality and fairness. You may genuinely hold those values. And yet your subconscious has absorbed every stereotype, every media portrayal, every cultural association you have ever been exposed to. The implicit association test euros, taken by millions of people worldwide euros, reveals that most people, including members of the stereotyped groups themselves, doctors who consciously believe in equal treatment, prescribe less pain medication to Black patients, hiring managers who genuinely want diversity rate identical resumes lower when they carry ethnic-sounding names. The subconscious is not your values euro. It is your exposure. The first step to addressing implicit bias is not guilt euros. It is awareness. You cannot fight an enemy you cannot see. Once you understand that your subconscious holds associations you never consciously chose, you can deliberately override them. You can slow down your hiring decisions. You can use structured interviews You can expose yourself to counter stereotypical examples that rewrite the subconscious associations over time. But the subconscious is not just a repository of biases and primes. It is also the source of your most brilliant insights. Consider the experience of suddenly knowing the answer to a problem you were not consciously thinking about a year ago. The shower insight, the midnight epiphany, the S. This phenomenon is called incubation. When you consciously focus on a problem, your prefrontal cortex activates a narrow set of neural pathways. But when you step away when you let your mind wander your subconscious continues working on the problem. But with access to a vastly broader network it connects dots your conscious mind could not even see as connected. The brain network responsible for this is the default mode network, a collection of regions that activate when you are not focused on any external task. It is active when you are daydreaming, when your mind is wandering, and crucially, during the early stages of sleep. The default mode network is your brain's creative incubation chamber, and most people never deliberately use it. History is full of examples. Paul McCartney woke up with the melody of Yesterday fully formed in his mind a euros. He thought he had unconsciously plagiarized it. Auguste Kekula discovered the ring structure of benzene after dreaming of a snake biting its own tail. Dmitri Mendeleev saw the periodic table arranged in a dream. These were not accidents, a euros. They were the subconscious delivering the results of incubation. Your subconscious is most creatively active during REM sleep. During REM, your brain takes disparate pieces of information, loosens the associations between them, and tries out novel combinations. This is why you dream of flying elephants and talking cats. But it is also why you wake up with solutions to problems that stumped you the night before. Sleep is not passive a euro. It is creative synthesis. You can deliberately harness this. Before going to bed, spend 5 minutes clearly defining a problem you want to solve. Write it down in specific terms. Then a euro, and this is crucial a euro, let it go. Do not try to solve it consciously. Tell your subconscious, this matters. Keep a notebook by your bed. When you wake, write down whatever comes to mind before you check your phone. Now let us turn to the most practical application of subconscious power, a euro. Habit formation. Every habit you have, good or bad, is a subconscious program. When you first learned to drive, every action required conscious attention, a euros. The mirror, the signal, the gear, the pedal. Now you can drive for an hour and remember none of it. Your subconscious took over. This transfer from conscious to subconscious happens in a brain region called the basal ganglia. When you repeat a behavior in a consistent context, the basal ganglia encodes it as a chunk a euros, a single automated routine that fires in response to a trigger. The conscious prefrontal cortex is freed up for other tasks. This is the efficiency of habit, and it is one of the most powerful features of the human brain. Charles Duhigg, in his research on habits, identified a 3-part loop. Cue, routine, reward. The cue triggers the brain to initiate a behavior. The routine is the behavior itself. The reward is what the brain gets from completing it, a euros. A dopamine hit, relief from stress, a feeling of accomplishment. Over time, the brain anticipates the reward as soon as it sees the cue, creating a craving that drives the loop automatically. The key insight is that you cannot eliminate a habit a euros. You can only replace it. The neural pathway is physically wired, but you can keep the same cue and the same reward while changing the routine. If you habitually eat a cookie at 3 p.m. when you feel an energy dip, the cue is the time and the feeling, and the reward is the sugar boost. Replace the cookie with a walk around the block a euros. Same cue, similar reward, different routine. How long does it take to wire a new habit into the subconscious? A widely cited study from University College London tracked 96 people over 12 weeks. But the range was enormous a euros, from 18 days to 254 days. The key variable was not willpower a euro. It was consistency and context. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of the subconscious is its relationship with belief. The placebo effect is not fake a euros. It is the subconscious mind producing real physiological changes based on expectation. Patients given sugar pills, but told they are painkillers, show measurable changes in brain chemistry a euros. Their subconscious releases endogenous opioids, the body. Carol Dweck's research on mindset demonstrates the same principle. Students who believe intelligence can be developed a euros. A growth mindset a euros show different brain responses to mistakes than those who believe intelligence is the growth mindset group shows a larger error-related negativity signal a euro. Their brains pay more attention to mistakes because their subconscious believes missed. Visualization is not wishful thinking a euros. It is subconscious programming. When you vividly imagine performing an action, your brain activates many of the same motor regions that fire when you actually perform it. Athletes who practice through visualization show measurable improvements in physical performance. Your subconscious does not clearly distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Self-affirmation a euros. The practice of reflecting on your core values a euros has been shown to reduce cortisol responses to stress, improve problem solving under pre. When your subconscious holds a belief about who you are, it filters incoming information. To confirm that belief, change the belief, and the filter changes. But we must also address the shadow side. The same subconscious that generates creative breakthroughs also holds your deepest fears, your oldest wounds, and your most destructive patterns. Carl Jung called this the shadow a euros. The parts of yourself you have repressed or denied. And here is the uncomfortable truth. What you repress does not disappear. It operates autonomously, influencing your behavior from below the surface of awareness. Jung observed that we tend to project the contents of our shadow onto others, the qualities we cannot accept in ourselves a euros. Anger, selfishness, vulnerability, ambition euros. We see with exaggerated clarity in other people. The colleague you find intolerably arrogant may be holding up a mirror to your own suppressed ambition. The partner whose neediness irritates you may be reflecting your own disowned vulnerability. The work of psychological integration, euros, of bringing the subconscious into consciousness, euros, is not about eliminating the shadow. It is about acknowledging it, understanding it, and integrating it. The goal is not to become a perfect person with no dark impulses. The goal is to know your dark impulses so well that they do not control you from the shadows. One of the most effective tools for accessing the subconscious is journaling euros. Specifically, morning pages. Write 3 pages by hand. First thing in the morning. Without stopping, without editing, without even reading what you have written. This is not writing for an audience. It is emptying the contents of your subconscious onto the page. You will be surprised by what emerges a euro, insights, fears, ideas, solutions that your conscious mind had been too busy to notice. Meditation is another direct line to the subconscious. When you sit in stillness and observe your thoughts without engaging them, you create a gap between stimulus and response. You begin to see these subconscious patterns euro, the automatic reactions, the habitual thought loops, the emotional triggers euro, as objects of observation. Rather, in that gap, freedom lives. Your dreams are the subconscious speaking in its native language, euro. Symbol, metaphor, and emotion. Keeping a dream journal by your bed and recording whatever you remember, even fragments, trains your brain to pay attention to the subconscious. Over time, patterns emerge, recurring symbols, persistent themes, unresolved tensions, euros. Your subconscious is telling you what it is processing. The relationship between your conscious and subconscious mind is not a battle. It is a partnership, euros. But only if you acknowledge the partner. Your conscious mind is the CEO who sets the vision and makes deliberate choices. Your subconscious is the entire organization, euro. The accumulated knowledge, the automated processes, the cultural memory, the creative potential, and yes, the you. You did not choose most of what is in your subconscious. It was installed by your childhood, your culture, your media diet, your repeated experiences. But you can choose what to add from this moment forward. Every word you read, every thought you entertain, every habit you practice, euros. You are programming the 11 million bit per second engine that drives your life. Program it deliberately. The most powerful computer in the known universe is sitting between your ears, and 95% of its processing power has been running on default SETI. It is time to open the control panel. It is time to meet the hidden partner who has been steering your ship all along. And it is time to begin the most important conversation of your life, euros. The one between who you think you are and who you actually are. Beneath the surface of